Sit right down, sit right down, we're gonna have a show. Sit right down, we're gonna have a show. Hey! And out of that thing came a song. I've discovered a lot of people ditch food. I would bet everybody here at one time or another has ditched food. Found a lady someplace. She came up after my show and she said, you know, when I was a kid, I really didn't like grapefruit juice, and my dad had me drink grapefruit juice every morning. And she said the neat thing about the old farmhouse we lived in is the floor of the kitchen was a wood floor, and there were cracks in the floor, and you could see all the way down into the basement. And she said what I would do is I'd drop my napkin or something, and I'd pour the grapefruit juice through the floor, and it'd hit the dirt floor of the basement and soak up, and it'd be gone. She said that was great until my mom was walking across the basement one time and got a head full of juice. Well, there ain't nothing worse than a soggy frog stuffed into a crack of a hollow log. Ain't nothing worse than a soggy frog unless it's mashed potatoes. Now I take the mashed potatoes and you put them in your napkin, fold them up tight, then you put them in your lap. A little bit later you excuse yourself and go and flush them down the toilet. Yeah, there ain't nothing worse than a soggy frog stuffed into a crack of a hollow log. Ain't nothing worse than a soggy frog unless it's baked beans. When I was a kid, I hated baked beans too. I used to think they were peas and ketchup. You know, I really did. My mother used to make baked beans. She made great baked beans, I understand. And she was in charge of making baked beans for the family picnics. And she would make this platter. Oh, I bet it was 2 foot long, 6 inches deep of baked beans. And she'd carry it out and she'd put it on the floorboard of the car right behind the driver's seat. And the last thing she would say to me before we climbed in the car, she looked me square in the eye and she'd say, Mike, don't step in the beans. That's the first thing I did. Oh, Mom. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Ruined a lot of shoes that way. Didn't eat many beans. Now when you're out on a picnic, folks give you beans, turn your plate around as pretty as you please. When they're not looking and you think you can, push them through the cracks in the table. Yeah, there ain't nothing worse than a soggy frog stuffed into a crack of a hollow log. Ain't nothing worse than a soggy frog unless it's liver and onions. Yeah, there we go. Everyone's favorite. I think there's only 5 people on the earth that like liver and onions, and they travel around in a motorhome going to restaurants that have specials. Now when you look at your plate, find a slab of liver, or don't you shake, don't you quiver, because even liver, it'll taste good if it's covered with 2 bottles of ketchup. Oh, ain't nothing worse than a soggy frog stuffed into a crack of a hollow log. Ain't nothing worse than a soggy frog unless it's creamed bologna. I didn't make that up, okay? In real life, I teach 3rd grade, and there's a teacher, 2nd grade teacher at my school who brings creamed bologna for lunch. She goes into the cafeteria and tries to trade with the kids. They won't trade with her either. Now when you're at school and it's time for lunch and all you've got is creamed bologna to munch, when your friends look happy and they look away, put your bologna in their sack. Yeah, ain't nothing worse than a soggy frog stuffed into a crack of a hollow log. Ain't nothing worse than a soggy frog unless it's soggy frogs on toast. Ooh. I was standing by my window on a cold cloudy day when I saw that hearse come rolling for to carry my mother away. Well, the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky.